Guys, welcome back. So it's the end of the Steam Summer Festival. Um, Odin surprised me. He had asked what other two or three titles I liked, and I told him, and I said, I'm not getting that. I said, I don't need it, blah, blah, blah. But he said, I tried to go out yesterday and I walked outside, I went, and I tried to go out today and I walked outside, I went, so I can't breathe outside right now because of the air's like soup. So, so I just can't breathe in that anymore. A year or so ago, I would have been able to go out in it. I can't do it anymore. I just can't breathe in it. So I said, it's clear there's no way, because it's not like this is a flat area. Everything is uphill. So not only can I breathe to begin with, but then everything's, a steep incline uphill. And he's like, absolutely not. He said, you're probably going to be trapped because it's going to rain for the next couple of weeks. He said, you're probably going to be trapped inside a couple of weeks. I'm sorry, can't get you out to, what's this in the way? It seems like, you know what? It fell down. I had to put it back up. Sorry about that. So, so you get to watch me do activities. But, he said, you're probably not going to be going out for a couple weeks. The gods love us, but they can't always change the weather every time, one of us has an issue. And I'm aware of that. So I said, go ahead, get those games, but do realize that if tomorrow's a sunny day, you went ahead and you did that instead of going out to, do something nice, which is fine. Because we tried to get out yesterday and we couldn't. We tried to get out today and we couldn't. And it's looking like the next couple of weeks I'll be trapped inside unless it's an emergency or I have to go somewhere. So, we did that. We got a couple more games. And we did a ceremony, did a closing ceremony, and they're fun if I tell you about it because, they thought that might make a good subject for today. I offered up a stick of incense. If you don't have incense, you can use a little spritz of perfume. If you don't have that, you don't need anything at all, but you just need intent. And I said, let's do a thing. And we do this a couple of times a year because we can all do this. We start to make little lists and we all have them. And let's not pretend we don't. We make up little lists, and the more the people shout they never do that, the more I know they do. And we go, I did A, B, and C for you. I did all these nice things for you. And what have you done for me lately? Now, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to look back in a friendship or relationship with a god or something and go, I've done all these really nice things here, and I'm not saying anything from you. That's okay. But if we start to build up a list of, I am doing this because you're going to owe me, that's no good. If we start to do things like cook our gods meals and give them incense and take them shopping and treat them extra nice because we're thinking, he's got to pay out sometime, that's not a good way to approach it because eventually, you can shift into that permanently and we can all catch ourselves doing it. So what we do is we go ahead and we light incense, or if we're not lighting incense that day, we just, sit down. We all agree that we all let go of those lists we have, that we wipe clear any debts that any of the others have to us. So anything I think the gods owe me because I did nice things for them, I'm letting that go. And I have to be willing to let it go. I can't just say, yeah, I'm letting it go, but think in the back of my mind, I better get paid. But, I can't do that. I have to let it go. They have to be willing to do it too. There's no good doing it if you really think you're owed something and you think, well, I'll let it go now, but I'll pick it back up 2 weeks from now and then I'll get paid. That's not how this works. So we let it go. And I said, let's all agree that we all let go any debts we think everybody owes us. Let it go and just, start from zero. And I said, that way we're starting from zero. Asmodeus doesn't have to worry about owing me anything. Loki doesn't have to worry. Odin doesn't have to worry. And it resets everything. And it's not even an original thought because, I grew up Roman Catholic and some of us actually do read our Bible. And every 7 years there was a festival to forgive debts. And I'm like, well, for reasons working with the gods, it's practical for me to do it, say, twice a year, like the summer sale, maybe the winter sale, and do that. And yeah, we're tying it to the sales, but because it's something we like to do, and to clear all the debts and try your best. Maybe you're trying and you're really meaning it, and yet you can't let go. Well, then ask for help. Tell them you're trying, but you really think because you've been ultra nice lately, you're owed something. And then they can work with you on that, and they can say, well, why do you think we owe you something because you've been nice to us? Were you not being nice because you genuinely like us? Was it all just to get something? Because if that was it, you should have been open. And I'm speaking from experience. You should have been open and said that. If you wanted a transactional relationship, and that's what that is, cooking nice meals, giving incense, giving whatever kind of other offerings you do. If you're doing that with the intent of getting something back, that's a transactional relationship. There's nothing wrong with that, but you should be open upfront. It hurts you and it hurts everybody else if you say, "Oh, I want a family relationship or I want student-teacher relationship or whatever you decide on." To say you want that and yet you're expecting something for, you're expecting a transaction every single time you give them something. Sometimes like Asmodeus asks for stuff. Like they all ask for stuff during the festival, and I have to take it on faith that they got their offering, now they're gonna do good things. The thing is, I'm never going to probably see a lot of these good things. Like with Asmodeus, if he's upset or he's gone, I can immediately feel that he has withdrawn his power from this house. It's immediate and it's fast. Same thing for Satan or Lucifer, same thing for Loki or Odin. You can feel after you're used to them and you're used to their presence, you can feel when they drop back. You can feel when they're like, okay, okay, I'm dropping back for a while. And so, that in itself is, payment enough because they're blessing you, they're protecting you. You just have to turn on the news to be grateful you're just, you're protected every day. And one second, guys, allergies. I do apologize. I stepped outside. So sorry about that, but yeah, it's super muggy outside, and it's probably going to be for weeks. I was hoping we get a year where it didn't happen, but of course we did. But just be willing if you're going to do something like that. You don't have to. It's not a requirement. It's nothing every pagan does. If you're going to do something like that, be willing to really let it go and be willing to, it's a good time to look at the relationships too and think, are we talking anymore? Are we working together anymore? If you keep, and this is me speaking from experience, if you keep putting everything else in front of working with your God, whether it be Loki or Odin or Jesus or anyone else, you have to sit down at some point and say, okay, why? And it's okay to take as much time as you need and be like, well, because I don't want to face them because they might judge me. And think, okay, why are they going to judge me? And in my advice would be to take that thing to them and say, here's why I've been avoiding you. And they'll go, yeah, I thought it was something. Or you're avoiding them because you're thinking, I'm not getting what I want out of this relationship. Again, it really helps to be honest when you're starting to feel that. Don't let it build up and build up and build up. Go to them and say, hey, I thought when we got into this relationship, I would get, X, Y, and Z. It's okay if it sounds ridiculous when you finally have to say what you thought you'd get. It's okay. It's better to have it out in the open. That's another part of this festival thing that we do. I might go up to Asmodeus and say, hey, when I started working with you and Mammon, honestly, guys, honestly, I thought a Vegas vacation was coming. Where is it? And Asmodeus would go, did we ever discuss a Vegas vacation? Well, you didn't, but Mammon was going blah, blah, blah. Well, then you have to talk to Mammon. And then say I go to Mammon, and I say, you were going blah, blah, blah about all this stuff. Where is it to? And then we would have to sit down, and I would say, none of that stuff's ever came. Now, I think it's fair to say sometimes our gods do that. They say, how would you like something? It's happened to me, it's happened to a lot of people, where they ask, how would you like this amount of money, or how would you like to travel here, or something, or something. It never, never ends up happening. Now, whether that is the god we make up in our head, and sometimes we can do that, offering us something, I don't know. Whether we're talking to ourselves in the god's voice, I don't know. Or whether they just ask us out of curiosity, I have no idea. But yeah, there was times when I had problems with Mammon because it seemed like Mammon was offering me all this stuff and it wasn't coming. Same thing with Satan recently, though that was Loki having fun. And Loki's like, I'm not sorry. So, but if you feel like you're repeatedly going through that, and you have checked with other gods, and you have prayed about it, or talked to your god if you're not comfortable with prayer, and you've done whatever you do for, oracle work, whether you do tarot, or you do oracle cards, or you do incense, or you do candles, and you can look all this stuff up. Or however you do it, songs, whatever, Pinterest, YouTube, doesn't matter. If you're getting back that no, they are promising you this stuff and it's just not coming through, then you have to go to them and say, hey, you've been making an awful lot of promises lately, and it ain't happening. It ain't happening. Or it's happening, but you're spending my money, depending on what they're promising. If they're promising something physical and you're like, yeah, I'm getting it, but I'm spending all my money. Well, one, that's realistically how things work in this world. If you want something, you usually have to pay for it or have it gifted to you. But two, if they were kind of jumping onto that law of attraction bandwagon, which I really don't recommend, but say they do and they go, oh yes, you'll get X, Y, and Z, and it hasn't come in a specific amount of time, it's okay for you to say, hey, we really have to sit down and talk. If you really enjoy them, you might still want to, have their company for a while. But, then sometimes, and this is part of the festival, you might say, let's part as friends. And I'm going to go work with someone else because it seems like just none of this stuff is ever coming. I used to not approve of that, but the older I'm getting, I'm like, yeah, if you've worked with, if you go to work with a god, say you go to work with Loki, and he says, yes, something is coming, he's usually not one to give you a schedule, but if it doesn't come in a reasonable amount of time, like you need help to pass a exam at work, or you need help getting a car or something, and it's just not coming through, it's totally fair to go, okay, Loki, I this is not coming through, and have that discussion. And then some people end up moving on to say Odin or someone else, and then eventually they find the god that's able to come through on stuff. It's a bad practice to just move on in 4 hours or so if it's not coming. If you're in an emergency situation, they understand you asking every god in existence. That's fine. But like if I wanted to buy a house tomorrow, and let's say I started with Loki, and nothing happened tomorrow. I woke up and nothing had happened. Now I have to do all my work, like finding an actual house to buy and stuff like that. But let's say nothing happened. Then I would go to Odin, and then if nothing happened, I could go to Freya, and then I could keep going through until I found the god that would be willing to work on that. Sometimes they're willing to work, and just for reasons I can't give you because I don't understand it, it just doesn't work out. And I've noticed that more so with the demons, that people will go through sometimes like say 12 or 20 before they find one that's willing to work. Like they'll say, yes, I'm going to do this, and maybe people give them the payment up front, and then it never happens. And then they're like, but I paid somebody for this work and it's not done. So, a lot of people hold payment till after work. And again, it depends on the relationship you have. That's a transactional relationship. That is, if you will get me this job, I will give you this. You can still have a family relationship or student teacher, whatever kind of relationship you have, but if you're making a transaction of that kind, you offer that to them. If they want that's fine. Like if you go to them, get me that job, and I'll get you that kind of chocolate or that wine or whatever it is they like, then yeah. But wait until you get the thing. And it's also okay to say no. It's okay to, at the end of a festival or during a festival or just any day of the year to say, what if they ask for something, to say no, to say I can't give that to you. It's not practical. We don't have the money. You make the money appear first, because if they make the money appear first, then fine. Then they can have it because they literally gave you the money for it. But if it is something you can't afford, or it's something that you just feel is wrong and you wouldn't feel comfortable buying for whatever reason, maybe you're vegan and they say, I'd really like a steak, you can say absolutely no. You can say absolutely no. You can say no. I won't get that for you unless you want to give them the vegan version of that meatless steak thing. But, we just figured that would be a good topic to talk to you guys about because it's something we do. We try to do it like at least twice a year because, we can all do it. There's nothing wrong, like I said in the beginning, of having an idea of what you've done for each other. But, like, if you're living in a family unit like we live, keeping tabs isn't useful. That said, it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, if I can go down a list of 40 nice things I think I've done, and I think nothing's been done in return, then yes, I can go to one of them and say, hey, I've been doing an awful lot. But it keeps you from starting a list or tending towards doing stuff because you think you'll be paid back later. If that's what you want, if you want paid back later, that's the transactional relationship. So if you're making coffee all the time with the understanding you're going to get something back, and not just because they're family, you have to let them know that. If you're not just feeding them or giving them food because they're family and you're like, hey, I hope you're remembering your family so you take care of me every time I feed you, you have to let them know. And that's fine. So, if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.